Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Crystal Bella and today we're going to talk about celebrities that you didn't know had Asperger Syndrome. So let's get straight to it. Now, I've spent the last couple of days doing an awful lot of research to make sure that the information I give you is correct. There are a lot of websites that really contradicted themselves, so just be sure I have done a lot of research on this, so it should be all good, but apologies if I'm wrong on any of these. It was really hard to put these in a top 10 list, so there will be a few that I'm going to add that isn't 100% about whether or not they have Asperger Syndrome, so I'll add a few extras at the end there. First on my list is a personal favourite, which is Dan Harmon, who is the producer for the TV show Community, which, if you've seen it before, has characters in there with Asperger Syndrome, which is one of the main reasons why I love the show. Plus, it's an amazing show and you have to go see it. I want to get a few people from history in there as well. So you've got Isaac Newton and Isaac Asimov. So Isaac Newton was I think the right word is a physicist. Anyway, he was a scientist. He came up with loads and loads of theories that we still use today. He was a massive breakthrough for science. And then the other Isaac Asimov, I think his name is, I'm looking down at my notebook by the way, he is the #1 American sci-fi writer, so he's kind of a big deal. Number 4 is Adam Young, who, in case you don't know him, he is the main man of Owl City. He does a lot of music. He did Fireflies, which I was a really big fan of when that came out. So yeah, he has Asperger Syndrome. So many creative people on my list, it's amazing. Number 5 is Jane Austen. We all know who Jane Austen is. She was a writer, amazing, wonderful woman. Number 6 on my list, I had to do an awful lot of research because loads of websites again contradicted themselves on this, but Tim Burton, believe it or not, has Asperger Syndrome. If you don't know who Tim Burton is, he did Corpse's Bride, Edward Scissorhands. He's done an awful lot of shows. He produces so many wonderful things, creepy things, but all the same, utterly wonderful. If you're into your silent movies and black and white movies back in history, then you'll know who Charlie Chaplin is. If you don't know who Charlie Chaplin is, he was a screenwriter and a comedian. He did kind of a lot of slapstick stuff. If you're at school and you're shown black and white old movies, Charlie Chaplin movies are probably one that you have seen before. You'll probably recognise him from his photo. So the next one is really special to me, in fact, because this is the person who really encouraged my childhood and even today is still something I'm really inspired by, which is Pokemon inventor. Can we call him an inventor? But Satoshi Tajiri? I think that's right. So, autistic, he's on the spectrum for Asperger Syndrome. He made Pokemon. He is the reason that we've been staring at our phones, walking around the street searching for things, or me as a kid running home from school to make sure that I got the episodes. I still have all the Pokemon movies on videotape. Number 9 is one that has only recently been diagnosed despite the age, and it's Susan Boyle. If you don't know who Susan Boyle is, I think she was the 3rd ever winner of Britain's Got Talent. She was a singer, she's done an awful lot of albums. And then number 10 on my list is someone that was spoken about in the last series we have, is Albert Einstein. So even though we mentioned in the last episode of this that he has dyspraxia, Albert Einstein also had Asperger Syndrome. With the two combined, it's one of the main reasons that he was able to excel so much in the work that he did. We've got on this list as well a few other scientists, you know, some really creative people in there. It just goes to show that just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you can be on the list of some of the world's greatest people. It is most of the world's greatest people, the people that I look up to so much that surprisingly I didn't even know myself had things like dyspraxia and autism and all sorts like that. I just want to add a few bonuses in here because I came across some really wonderful people that we haven't been able to fully disclose whether or not they had autism because either they're not alive anymore or they're in a position where they would probably feel unsafe to talk about those kinds of things. You'll understand what I mean by that when I mention the person. If you're from America, you'll appreciate this so much, but Abraham Lincoln was thought to have Asperger syndrome or some type of autism. I did a lot of research on this, and the reason I've not put him in the definitely does have it is because, you know, we have no way of assessing him anymore. So it's just based on observations that people have had of him over time, and a lot of observations based on, you know, people who were around him and written about him in the past, and, you know, things in the future as well. They say a lot of things with him relate to autism. Michael Jackson, it's really hard to tell with him. It could be that a lot of his traits were based on the way that he was treated as a child, but then, you know, his other siblings didn't necessarily have the same traits that he did. So there's a possibility that he had Asperger syndrome, but again, we've not really got much way of telling whether or not, you know, how true that is. So he's going to be on my maybe list for now. The other person is Bill Gates. He's still alive, he's still around, I think. Is Bill Gates still around? Yeah, Bill Gates is still alive, isn't he? So Bill Gates, we don't have like 100% clarification on it. If you can find some information that says, yeah, he totally does, he's, you know, 100% Asperger's, then please do let us know, because that's kind of a big deal, Bill Gates. So the other person is Vladimir Putin. I hope I've pronounced that right. So he's the Russian leader. There's not a huge amount of information, but from observations, you know, people said it's very clear that he may very well have Asperger's syndrome, but it's not on the definite list. I think if he does have Asperger's, I think based on the society that they live in, I don't know whether or not it would be deemed safe for him to say that based on the culture that they have there. Thankfully, I live in a culture where that kind of thing is greatly welcomed. Tell us all your struggles and all the wonderful things, because we're so loving here. There are so many other people on this list, which, you know, is too much. So what do you think about this list? Did you know about these people with their Asperger's syndrome? Are there other people that I haven't mentioned in this video that you know have Asperger's syndrome? Please let us know in the comments. Well, thanks for watching. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye.